Hey guys, it's Elaine, the Ninja Life Coach, and welcome to my channel today. Today, we're going to talk about sowing good seed. So sit back, grab yourselves a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Hey everybody, I'm back, and today we're going to talk about the parable of the sower, which is found in the book of Matthew, the 13th chapter. Jesus tells this story, and he talks about when someone goes out to sow their seed, like a farmer goes out to plant their crops in the spring. He throws the seed here, throws the seed there, and sometimes the seed falls on good ground, sometimes stony ground, sometimes it just doesn't take root for whatever reason. But oftentimes the seed finds its way into the good soil, it takes root, and when it starts producing, it produces a whole bunch of fruit, more than just the few seeds that you threw into the ground. Now basically that's what that parable is talking about. And today we're going to talk about a couple of things you can do to make sure that your seed is falling on good ground, and to also make sure that it takes root and grows. The first thing you can do when you're getting ready to do something that God has told you to do is you can make sure that seed gets into good soil. You can use a potting mix to mix that soil together. You can water it. You can nurture it. You can do all kinds of things to that soil to improve that soil and improve the chances of that seed growing into something that you want it to grow into. It's the same way when we plant seeds into our lives. When God tells us what to do, we need to prepare our ground, if you will, just like the gardener prepares the soil before he plants the garden. We have to prepare our hearts, and we have to prepare the way ahead of us on our journey. We can't just say, I hope I'm going to wander around and everything's going to end up great. We can't do that because everything oftentimes does not end up great. And if we take a little bit of time to prepare our soil, then we can make sure that we have a better chance when we get ready to really move forward and really dig in and get ready for that seed to grow. Now, ultimately, what happens with that seed is up to God. You know, all we are is a planter. We are not anything else but the one that plants the seed. So at the end of the day, it's up to God to give the increase on that harvest. But if we take the time and prepare our hearts, prepare our souls, our mind, prepare our strength, and we go forward with what God has for us, then our chances of success are much, much greater than if we just dive in with no preparation whatsoever. The second thing we can do is we can say, okay, when is the appropriate time to plant? You know, just like you plant a garden, there are certain things that you need to plant by, which is like the farmer's almanac, for instance. A lot of farmers still use the almanac, and they go in there when they plant their seed to give them the most advantageous position for that seed to spring forth and produce fruit or vegetables. We need to do the same thing spiritually. We need to go to our Bible, take a look at it, and say, okay, Lord, when do you want me to move forward? When is the most advantageous time for me to move forward with this so that I get the best return on my investment? Now, I know that sounds a little bit businesslike, and it sounds a little bit, cut and dry, but really there's not much more to it than that. Just like God's word says, there is a time and a purpose under heaven for everything. There is a time and a purpose for us to plant, and there is a time for us to harvest. And we need to figure out when those times are before we start a new business venture. We don't always know that right up front, especially about the harvest, but if we will plant in God's timing, our chances of success go way up. The destiny of the seed is in that dirt. It is in how the dirt is prepared. It is just like it is in how we prepare our hearts to receive what God has for us. So at the end of the day, when we're ready to reap the harvest, if we have prepared and done everything we can do to make sure that seed is falling on good ground, then the destination of whatever it is that God has planned for us to do, if we have been faithful, we have prepared, we've done a lot of prayer, we've talked to God, we've done everything that we can do, worked hard, we've done it all. If we've done all those things, at the end of the day, the end result is going to be much, much greater and better than if we do nothing and just sit back and just wait and see. Waiting and seeing is fine, and there are plenty of times for us to wait and see on God. There are plenty of times to do that. But when you are planting something specifically, and we are sowing into other people's lives, and we're sowing into our own harvest, that's not the time for us to necessarily just sit back and see. Now, at the end of the day, there are going to be times in our lives when we plant and we water, and there is no harvest. There are going to be those times in our lives. That's going to happen. The Bible tells us that those seeds are not always going to fall on good ground. Some of them are going to fall on stony ground, hard ground. Some of them are just going to land in the weeds. And that's going to happen. The Bible tells us that's going to happen. But if we stay with God and we listen to what He wants us to do, we read His Word, we will stay where we need to be regardless of the outcome. Because at the end of the day, folks, we water, we plant, but it is God that gives us the harvest in our lives and the harvest in other people's lives. Listen, guys, I hope you all have a great day. God bless you all. Maranatha, folks. Bye-bye. I love you guys.